live in interesting times and dangerous times. In September, just 2 months ago, the education minister sent threatening letters to dozens of Christian and Jewish schools all over Alberta, demanding that they remove from their own school policies religious references. The education minister said that a reference in a Christian school policy that the Bible is the infallible and unchangeable Word of God and is the truth, that had to be taken out of the school policy because it is an offense against diversity. Diversity mandated by the School Act. Even a statement that men and women are created in the image of God and because of that enjoy intrinsic dignity and value. That was highlighted in orange as an offense. That statement, according to David Eggen, creates a learning environment that is not safe, caring, welcoming, and respecting. You'd think that in a democracy, at least a functioning democracy, you would think that in a free society, when the education minister threatens to shut down schools if they do not obey his demand to remove religious references from their own school policies, you'd think that would make front page. I mean, this is on par. This is totalitarian. This is nakedly totalitarian. This is what communists and Nazis have done, is to go to a free, private institution, whether it's a church, a school, a university, a private association, and make demands and trample on the fundamental freedoms that are the cornerstone of our society. Things like freedom of expression, freedom of conscience, freedom of religion, freedom of association. The right of parents to raise and educate their own children as parents deem best, not as political activists and politicians deem best. That is a cornerstone of the free society. So these pillars are under attack. When you have the education minister attacking the right of parents to educate their own children as the parents deem best, that is an attack on the free society. The totalitarian regimes, and this is Remembrance Day coming up tomorrow. You know, we fought successfully in World War II against totalitarian regimes, against Nazi Germany, against Imperial Japan, fascist Italy, so on and so forth. We continued after World War II, we continued to fight against what Ronald Reagan correctly and accurately described as the evil empire, the Soviet Union, which oppressed and also stripped away the rights and freedoms of people. There was no freedom of speech, no freedom of religion, no right to own and enjoy your own private property, no freedom of association, and certainly no freedom for parents to raise their children in anything other than a communist ideology. So that too was a totalitarian state, and it still exists, sadly, in North Korea and in Cuba and in other places. There are certain things that these totalitarian regimes have in common. One of them is they're out looking, they hold forth a utopia. Right? For the communists, it was the workers' paradise, where everybody will give according to their ability and receive according to their needs, and the state will wither away, and all we have to do is kill all of these nasty capitalists, and we're going to usher in this wonderful future. And in Nazi Germany, their utopia was the dominance of the master race all over the world. It was a utopia. And what the totalitarian regime does is when it wants to bring in the utopia, in order to do that, you have to trample on fundamental freedoms, because if you have freedom of speech and freedom of religion and freedom of conscience and private property rights, and if you have the family unit, which is the basic unit of society, which must be protected, if you have those things in existence, they stand in the way of the utopia. You're not going to get your utopia if you've got all these pesky, annoying fundamental freedoms and people are thinking their own thoughts and doing their own thing. You're not going to get to your workers' paradise or the master race ruling the world. Whatever the goal is, it doesn't matter. It's that element of totalitarianism, and it is as old as Plato's Republic. 2,400 years ago in Plato's Republic. The speakers, the whole book is a dialogue of several individuals, and they're carrying on this conversation, and they're talking about creating the perfect state, the perfect society. And as they're having their discussion, they say, well, you know, we're never going to get this perfect society if we've got parents that are teaching their own kids what the parents think is best. So we have to destroy the family, and we have to take the children away from the parents, and we have to educate the children. The guardians will educate the children properly, and that is how we will create the utopia. So these are not, these bad ideas are very old, but you have that dichotomy between this totalitarian, anti-family, anti-parental rights, anti-free speech, or you've got the free society, which, and I said we live in dangerous times, it is slipping away very quickly, and we are in deep, deep trouble in Canada today. You want to talk about totalitarianism? When Justin Trudeau says that in order to be eligible to have access to a federal government program as a taxpayer, in order to be eligible for that, you have to tick off a box saying that you agree with Justin Trudeau's beliefs about abortion and transgenderism in order to be eligible for government service. That is totalitarian. It is nakedly totalitarian. We see it here in Alberta with Bill 10. Bill 10 was an aggressive attack against the right of parents to choose the kind of education that shall be given to their own children, which, not coincidentally, is a right enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948, barely 3 years after World War II. The Universal Declaration of Parental Rights expressly has a clause in there that says parents have a prior right to choose the kind of education that shall be given to their children. Why is that in there? Well, it's to protect the free society. This is 3 years after we defeated Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. There's the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the right of parents, attacked and trampled upon, not by the NDP, but by Jim Prentice and the Progressive Conservatives passed Bill 10, forcing every school in Alberta to set up a Gay Straight Alliance, GSA, at the request of one student, regardless of what parents want, regardless of what the principal wants, regardless of what teachers want, regardless of the mission and vision and principles of the school, regardless, if one kid says I want a GSA, there's going to be a GSA in that school. That is an attack on parental rights. It is an attack also on the culture and character and nature of Alberta's Sikh and Jewish and Muslim and Christian and Catholic schools. Nakedly totalitarian, Bill 10. And we've taken it to court, and we want to see it defeated. There's lots of work to be done. There's lots of nomination races going on. You know, when you get your ballot, those names didn't just magically fall from the sky. They were chosen by internal races within each party as having its own nomination process. Not everybody winning the nomination. They're not all people that support the free society. So it's really important. Be a member of a political party. Take out a membership in a political party. You will have 10 times as much influence over what goes on in this province and in this country as a member of a political party as opposed to your next door neighbor if he or she is not a member of a political party. You're going to have 10 times as much influence as that person. So we see this totalitarianism, it's rearing its ugly head with the social justice warriors on campus that are shutting down speech. Bill 24 made the situation even worse in Alberta, mandated secrecy. It is illegal in Alberta for teachers and for teachers and principals. It is illegal for teachers and principals to inform parents about what is going on with their own children as young as 5 years old. There was one of the clients in our court case, a father has an autistic daughter. She was 12 years old, got involved in a GSA at school, and the GSA leaders and the teachers and the other students immediately start to persuade her that she's actually a boy, persuade her to wear boys' clothing, use a boy's name, use male pronouns, use the boys' lockers rooms, so on and so forth. And oh yeah, you got to think about transitioning, and put you on puberty blockers, and get you lined up for surgery. All of this stuff without a word to the parents. Parents didn't find out until the girl became suicidal, and only then were the parents involved. This is what secrecy does. Secrecy is toxic. Any law that drives that wedge between parents and children is a totalitarian law. It's the type of law that they would have in Nazi Germany or communist Russia. That is the type of law that we're fighting against. We don't know what's going to happen with court action, but what's important is, and I would say it was even more important than the court actions, and I appreciate the support. I know a lot of Justice Center supporters are here today. If you're not a Justice Center supporter, donor, there's a booth out there. Please join. We've got 5,000 Canadians from coast to coast that are supporting the work. I'm so thankful. We've got a team of 3 full-time lawyers, a part-time lawyer, a full-time paralegal. We've got 7 full-time staff and 5 part-time staff, thanks to the generous support of donors. We don't ask for or receive any government money, so I really appreciate that. But what's even more important than what the Justice Center is trying to do is that you be actively involved in the democratic process. The totalitarianism that we're fighting against today is it's not a hammer and sickle, it's not a swastika, but it's a social justice warrior narrative of diversity, tolerance, inclusion, and equity. Now, these are all okay things, properly understood. I'm a big fan of true diversity, which would mean we have different kinds of schools, different kinds of law schools, different beliefs, different opinions, different religions, different associations. I'm a fan of true diversity. True diversity is the hallmark of the free society. It's one of the characteristics. You've got real differences in belief and in religion and so on and so forth. But when these people talk about, when the totalitarians talk about diversity, it doesn't mean diversity. It means you're going to agree with what I think, particularly about matters of sexuality. You'd better toe the party line and join in our postmodernist, hedonistic, progressive vision of sexuality. And if you disagree with that, well, that's just not allowed. Tolerance, well, these people are intolerant. Inclusion, not for a Christian university that wants to have a law school. Not much inclusion there, is there? So inclusion is also a lie. And equity, again, could be a good thing, but for social justice warriors, there's this everlasting conflict. Everything's about conflict between men and women, between straight people and gay people, between light-skinned people and dark-skinned people, between Christians and non-Christians. This is how they see life. They don't recognize the dignity of each individual. Right? Everything is group warfare, and everything's about attacking who is on the wrong side. So this is what we're up against. It is a nasty, aggressive ideology. It has been working very hard for decades to implant itself and entrench itself, and it's going to take hard work and sacrifice and suffering to defeat it. And it's going to take time. So what do we do? How do we defeat today's totalitarianism? Right? Because again, you got to think about the common characteristics. It doesn't matter whether it's a hammer and sickle for communism, or whether it's the swastika for Nazi Germany, or whether it's a rainbow flag. The underlying thing is a hostility towards individual freedoms. The underlying thing is a vision where government is the master, and government is forcibly guiding us towards this wonderful utopia, rather than allowing us to exercise our freedoms and raise our families and lead our own lives. So what do we do? First of all, continue to speak up. Our freedoms are like a muscle. The more you exercise a muscle, the stronger it becomes, right? And if you don't exercise your muscles, if you do nothing other than watch TV, your muscles are going to get weaker and weaker. So practice your freedom of expression, freedom of religion, freedom of association. Don't be intimidated by the name calling. Jordan Peterson, a hero of mine, He says that, you know, all of these attacks, they're like gnats. You know, they you have to, if you just ignore them and keep on talking, they just go away. And it's true. Okay, all you have to do is you have to have the courage to withstand the first wave of name calling. When they say you're a hateful, homophobic bigot, oh, you don't care if gay teenagers are committing suicide, shame on you, you racist, neo-Nazi, blah, 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 blah. If you can stand your ground, if you can withstand that wave of name calling, and then sort of come right back and say the same thing again, they're at a loss. They don't know what to do. They've used that's their only tactic. They don't have any intelligence. They don't have intelligent arguments to back up what they're saying. So it's really important in our own individual lives, with your family, with your friends, with your coworkers. Do not be intimidated. Don't go silent just because you're subjected to some vicious name calling, because it's all they got. Remember that if somebody calls you, whatever, neo-Nazi, racist, sexist, homophobic, whatever, if they're calling you that, it's because they don't have an intelligent argument. So you should actually feel a little bit happy about it, and then ignore it and keep on speaking. And what do they do? Well, what are they going to do? They've called you all these nasty names, and you come out and you continue saying the same things. You believe in the free society. You believe in whatever you believe in. You keep on speaking out. They're at a loss. They're defeated. They can't do anything. However, if everybody, the biggest danger in Canada, it's not the social justice warriors, it's not Trudeau, it's not Notley, it's not Egan. The biggest danger in Canada is self-censorship. Okay? So that's something we can all do, is no self-censorship. Second thing, support the groups and organizations that are fighting these battles. It's fantastic. You've paid money to be here. I hope the Rebel makes a humongous, big, fat, gigantic profit off of this event. And support the Justice Centre, support Parents for Choice in Education. It's a fantastic group in Alberta that's doing very important work on the education front. www.parentchoice.ca. And persevere. This is important. Okay. It didn't take just a few hours to get rid of Hitler. It didn't take a few days. It didn't take a few weeks. It didn't take a few months. It took 6 years. Okay? So be ready for the long haul. We're in a big fight. And don't think that defeating the NDP in Alberta is going to solve all of your problems. There's lots of people in other parties that are not friends of the free society. So do not rest on your laurels. It would be a huge mistake if you just say, the NDP is gone, so we can just relax. No, absolutely not. You have to persevere, because quitters never win and winners never quit. So we have to keep on going. Last point, we have to be willing to make sacrifices, financial sacrifices. We have to be willing to endure some suffering. It's not imprisonment and torture and death, but, at least endure the name calling. But be willing to go through some kind of, we're not going to defend we're not going to defend the free society if we have this commitment to not undergoing some hardship and suffering and inconvenience. That's just part and parcel of the fight. I think we won in World War II because the attitude, the underlying attitude of those of us who were fighting, people on our side. I was only born in 1967, but the attitude was that it is better to die standing than to live on your knees. And that should be our attitude when we fight for the free society. Thank you very much.